Charlie Kirk, a 31-year-old political activist and co-founder of Turning Point USA, was shot and killed back on September 10th on the campus of Utah Valley University. Charlie was on campus for his American Comeback Tour, which is a debate-style conversation with students that he called Prove Me Wrong. The event had only been going on for a little over 20 minutes when a single gunshot rang out. And cell phone video from multiple angles showed the bullet hit Charlie in the neck, and he immediately slumps over and blood gushes out of his neck. Charlie was quickly carried to a car where he was taken to a nearby hospital, and a short time later he was pronounced dead. Now, in the weeks that followed, a suspect has been arrested and is now facing the death penalty if convicted. Furthermore, Kirk's life has since been memorialized, and the pursuit for justice has already started playing out in court. Charlie Kirk was assassinated on the campus of Utah Valley University on September 10, 2025. One day later, the head of the Utah Department of Public Safety didn't have much information about the shooter.
Historically, on 9/11, law enforcement has come together as a group to recognize and honor those that sacrificed to preserve the ideals of this country, the freedoms of this country. And instead, we find ourselves today hunting a murderer who chose to violate our rights, the rights of an individual within this country.
Officials with the Utah Department of Public Safety and FBI say the shooter arrived near the campus at 11:52 a.m. the morning of Wednesday, September 10th, about 8 minutes before the American Comeback event started. Charlie Kirk would have 31 minutes left to live.
We were able to track the movements of the shooter. Starting at 11:52 a.m., this subject arrived on campus, shortly away from campus. We have tracked his movements onto the campus, through the stairwells, up to the roof, across the roof to a shooting location. After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood.
Charlie Kirk was seated under a sun tent, and roughly 200 yards away, atop of a building, is the reported location of the shooter, giving him an elevated and direct shot at Charlie. At 12 noon Mountain Time, the American Comeback Tour event officially begins in the courtyard outside of the Utah Valley University Sorensen Center. 12:09 p.m., a few minutes into the event, Charlie starts firing up the crowd. Authorities say at least 3,000 people were at the event. At these events, Charlie hosts what he calls a Prove Me Wrong table, where he invites students to a microphone close to the stage to ask any question that is then debated as the student tries to prove Charlie's point wrong. 12:23 p.m., a student asked Charlie, "Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years? And Charlie responds with this.
Counting or not counting gang violence? Great.
12:23 p.m. It's at that moment video from up close to the tent shows Charlie get shot in the neck. We stop the video before you see him get shot, but blood immediately starts pouring out of Charlie's neck as he slumps backwards and his security team covers him. Still at 12:23, the 3,000 people there immediately realize something has happened and start to frantically disperse. Several people pick Charlie up and rush him to an SUV, which immediately takes him to the hospital. Meanwhile, the shooter flees the scene.
After the shooting, we were able to track his movements as he moved to the other side of the building, jumped off of the building, and fled off of the campus and into a neighborhood.
Investigators comb through a nearby neighborhood trying to get doorbell video and interview witnesses. 12:42 p.m., 19 minutes after the shooting, UVU sends an alert that a single gunshot was fired on campus toward a visiting speaker. Police are investigating now, suspect in custody. 1:12 p.m., as SWAT swarmed the campus to clear buildings and search for the shooter, UVU closes the campus. Video shows SWAT searching a nearby wooded area. 1:20 p.m., UVU cancels classes until further notice as the manhunt for the shooter is now underway. During the immediate aftermath, police took 2 people into custody, but they were both released and cleared of any connection to the shooting. 4:15 p.m., Utah Governor Spencer Cox gives some of the first comments on the investigation.
This is a dark day for our state. It's a tragic day for our nation. And I want to be very clear that this is a political assassination.
Nothing was publicly known about the shooter for the next 17 hours until 7 a.m. the next morning, when officials provided this update.
We have recovered what we believe is the weapon that was used in yesterday's shooting. It is a high-powered bolt-action rifle. That rifle was recovered in a wooded area where the shooter had fled. Investigators have also collected footwear impression, a palm print, and forearm imprints for analysis.
No motive has been given and no images or description of the shooter was given for nearly 3 more hours when at 9:50 a.m. Thursday morning, the FBI released 2 photos of a person of interest and asked for the public's help in identifying the person.
The suspect blended in well with a college institution. We're not releasing many details right now, and we will soon. But right now we're not. But that individual appears to be of college age. We are confident in our abilities to track that individual. If we're unsuccessful in identifying them immediately, we will reach out for the public's help and the media's help in pushing those photos. That was a new development overnight, working through the night, studying those cameras. So that's something that's new and that we're working through right now.
At 11 a.m. Thursday, September 11th, the Air National Guard confirmed that Vice President J.D. Vance would fly to Utah, land at the Air National Guard base for a private meeting with Kirk's family, and assist in bringing his body back to Arizona where Charlie lived.
Cured it. As to the community, I can tell you that this was a targeted event. We don't believe that the community is at risk. However, we are exhausting every resource to find him, and we will do so. We're doing everything we can to find him, and we're not sure how far he has gone yet, but we will do our best.
At 11:15 a.m., the FBI offered a $100,000 reward for information leading to the identification and arrest of individuals in the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Last night I communicated with Erica. The family's devastated. As a commissioner of public safety, as a father, as a husband, I can only imagine what that family's going through.
Tyler James Robinson, a 22-year-old from southern Utah, turned himself into authorities in the late evening hours of September 11th, a day after prosecutors say he killed Charlie Kirk. In the minutes, hours, and even days after Charlie Kirk was shot and killed, there was still a lot of confusion around how police found Robinson. What the public knew shortly after it was announced that Robinson was taken into custody was that there was a 33-hour manhunt. But what we now know, according to prosecutors, is that catching him really came down to Robinson's mother and father. According to Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray, Robinson's mother saw the photo that police released of a person of interest, and she thought it looked a lot like her son.
Robinson's mother called her son and asked him where he was. He said he was at home sick, and that he had also been at homesick on September 10th. Robinson's mother expressed concern to her husband that the suspect shooter looked like Robinson. Robinson's father agreed.
According to Gray, that's when Robinson's father gets involved, concerned that the gun police had described as being a bolt-action high-powered rifle may have been the gun Robinson had been given as a gift.
As a result, Robinson's father contacted his son and asked him to send a photo of the rifle. Robinson did not respond. However, Robinson's father spoke on the phone with Robinson. Robinson implied that he planned to take his own life.
And this sets off a series of events, according to prosecutors, where the parents brokered their son's surrender. They start by agreeing to get Robinson to come to the family home in Washington City, Utah, which is about 3.5 hours south of the UVU campus where the shooting happened.
As they discussed the situation, Robinson implied that he was the shooter and stated that he couldn't go to jail and just wanted to end it. When asked why he did it, Robinson explained there is too much evil and the guy, referring to Charlie Kirk, spreads too much hate.
That's when prosecutors say the parents convinced Robinson to speak with a family friend who's a retired deputy sheriff. Together, they persuaded Robinson to turn himself in, and the family friend notified police he had the suspected shooter.
The friend also asked Robinson if he had any clothes that were related to what he did. Robinson replied that he had disposed of the clothes in different areas.
After Robinson surrendered, prosecutors say the family kept talking to police.
Robinson's mother explained that over the last year or so, Robinson had become more political and had started to lean more to the left, becoming more pro-gay and trans rights oriented. She stated that Robinson began to date his roommate, a biological male who was transitioning genders. In one conversation before the shooting, Robinson mentioned that Charlie Kirk would be holding an event at UVU, which Robinson said was a stupid venue for the event. Robinson accused Kirk of spreading hate.
What prosecutors laid out next was evidence they say they have against Robinson, a key piece of it being a text message exchange of the shooting, in his own words, with his roommate and romantic partner, a copy of which was handed over to police.
On September 10th, 2025, the roommate received a text message from Robinson which said, "Drop what you're doing, look under my keyboard." The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, quote, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it."
Gray says the following text exchange then took place.
After reading the note, the roommate responded, "What? You're joking, right?" Robinson, "I am still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you." Roommate, "You weren't the one who did it, right?" Robinson, I am. I'm sorry." Roommate, "I thought they caught the person."
Authorities have not charged the roommate with any crime and would not say if they had any prior knowledge, but added they are cooperating with authorities as the one who provided the text exchange. Here's Gray reading more of the messages.
Roommate, "I thought they caught the person." Robinson, "No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering."
The roommate then asked the one question almost everyone is asking.
Roommate, "Why?" Robinson, "Why did I do it?" Roommate, "Yeah." Robinson, "I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence." Roommate, "How long have you been planning this?" Robinson, "A bit over a week, I believe."
In the next part of the exchange, Robinson is accused of talking about trying to retrieve the rifle and infers he's beginning to realize the police net around him might be closing in.
Robinson again, "I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the F will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel."
One of the charges Robinson faces is witness tampering, which comes from the next part of the alleged text message.
Robinson again, "Delete this exchange. Don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent."
That alleged text exchange opens a window into Robinson's possible mindset, but is this a legal confession? For those that aren't of a legal mind, is this a confession, the text messages? Is that legally a confession?
Ultimately, a judge will determine that.
Gray says DNA consistent with Robinson was tested and found on the trigger of the recovered rifle. UVU surveillance captured the immediate aftermath as Gray described how Robinson slipped past police and was able to make it back to southern Utah undetected.
The suspected shooting position is adjacent to an open, publicly accessible walkway. To access the suspected location, a person must climb over a railing and then drop to the roof only slightly below.
After the shooting, a UVU officer approached the suspected shooting position and noticed markings in the gravel rooftop.
Consistent with a sniper having lain on the roof, impressions in the gravel potentially left by the elbows, knees, and feet of a person in a prone shooting position.
Authorities did an intensive review of all of UVU's surveillance footage.
Immediately after the shot was fired, a camera captures the suspect running across the roof carrying an item whose shape is consistent with a rifle. The suspect is then seen climbing down from the roof. He appears to drop the item he was carrying as he hits the ground in a controlled fall. He then picks up the item and runs toward the northeast end of campus.
That's when investigators believe Robinson entered a wooded area and left a rifle and 3 unspent rounds. And it's here police lost track of his movements.
Over the next approximately 33 hours, police conducted a manhunt for the shooter until the evening of September 11th, 2025, when Tyler James Robinson surrendered to police at the Washington County Sheriff's Office.
Gray would not say if Robinson is cooperating since he turned himself in, but he made it clear after filing 7 charges against Robinson what his role is as the top prosecutor in this case.
I am charged with bringing justice for Charlie Kirk. I am committed to these aims. I take this responsibility seriously.
Gray officially charged Robinson with aggravated murder, which is a capital offense, discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, obstruction of justice for moving and concealing the rifle and disposing of the clothing he wore during the shooting, witness tampering for directing his roommate to delete incriminating text messages and asking him to stay silent if police questioned him, and commission of a violent offense in the presence of a child.
I am filing a notice of intent to seek the death penalty. I do not take this decision lightly, and it is a decision I have made independently as county attorney, based solely on the available evidence and circumstances and nature of the crime.
Did you consult Erica Kirk about seeking the death penalty?
I'm not going to comment on that.
3 hours after the charges were filed, Robinson had his first court appearance.
Could you state your name?
Tyler James Robinson.
Judge Tony Graff Jr., who was appointed to the 4th District Court in May of 2025, read into the record the charges Robinson is facing, the most serious being aggravated murder with a capital enhancement of targeting a political victim.
Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression.
During the virtual hearing, Robinson sat in a Utah County jail cell wearing a suicide vest. Body language expert Scott Rouse watched the hearing and says Robinson did not show the normal signs of fear or stress, looking calm, almost bored.
And they don't know what's going to happen next. They don't know what to expect. They don't know how to act during that. And this guy just looks relaxed.
Rouse said it was what Robinson didn't do that stood out. No heavy breathing, no restless movements, just a relaxed demeanor in a moment where most people would be on edge.
When I look at things like this, I look for the things that are missing, and those are all the things that are missing right out of the gate. And this is odd behavior for someone who theoretically should be fairly stressed at this point.
Judge Graff declared Robinson indigent, meaning he can't afford his own private defense counsel and will need to be assigned a public defender. And then the judge set the next court date for later in September. 10 days after Kirk was assassinated, people from all over the country descended on Glendale, Arizona, to pay tribute to Kirk's life and faith. Outside the Turning Point USA Phoenix, Arizona area headquarters, thousands laid mementos on a growing memorial. And the next day, at least 200,000 people showed up to State Farm Stadium, the site of Kirk's memorial, wanting to get in. People had to be turned away, but for those who got inside, they witnessed a 5-hour service that opened with Rob McCoy, Charlie's pastor.
He had more lifetimes in 31 years than all of us have in the entirety of our own.
For the next 2 hours, friends and Turning Point USA staff shared stories of Charlie and life lessons he taught them.
He didn't waste time. He lived every moment with conviction.
Christian author Frank Turek was at UVU when Kirk was shot and described the immediate aftermath, adding he later learned Charlie died instantly and felt no pain.
We did everything we could to save Charlie, but Charlie was already gone. His face was looking at mine, but he wasn't looking at me. He was looking past me right into eternity.
In the first couple hours, the memorial showed many moments of Charlie's life, including behind-the-scenes video of Charlie arriving on UVU's campus just minutes before he was shot.
He led this movement, but he did so with incredible knowledge.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio led a series of cabinet members that also shared stories of knowing Charlie through the years before Charlie's widow, Erica Kirk, addressed his death.
God bless all of you for coming here from all over the world to honor and celebrate my Charlie.
At times, looking up to the sky while speaking, Erica described how she flew to Utah, arrived at the hospital on September 10th to do the unthinkable.
I saw the wound that ended his life. I felt everything you would expect to feel. I felt shock. I felt horror and a level of heartache that I didn't even know existed.
And then, in an emotional moment, Erica said this about her husband's accused killer.
He wanted to save young men, just like the one who took his life. On the cross, our Savior said, "Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do." That man, that young man, I forgive him.
President Donald Trump was the last to speak and started out by saying the nation is in grief.
Charlie's murder was not just an attack on one man or one movement. It was an attack on our entire nation.
He then called Kirk a martyr for American freedom.
As president, many people asked me for things, but Charlie was one of the few who always gave more than he took. He was a giver, much more than a taker.
A week after the memorial, Robinson was back in court for his second hearing.
State of Utah versus Tyler James Robinson.
The hearing was brief and centered around two things. First, Utah County Prosecutor Chad Gruyander laid out the huge amount of evidence that needs to be handed over to the defense.
There are a number of witnesses that have yet to be identified that will likely be used in the state's case. This occurred in front of 2,000 to 3,000 students at Utah Valley University. So we're in the process of identifying those witnesses.
And secondly, Judge Graff laid out how he plans to handle all proceedings moving forward.
Let me be clear. I will not put my finger on the scale of justice. These proceedings will be open to the public, conducted in accordance with the law, and handled with diligence and competence to ensure that justice is never compromised.
Because prosecutors are seeking the death penalty, Robinson will stay in jail without bail. Thank you for watching this YouTube original. I'm Jim Spiewak.